That is a great point, and I would like to hear the rest of the BigBeat's rules.
Yeah, I'm happy to go through them if you'd like. I'd have to pull them up. If you give me 1 second, I'll pull those up.
The most important thing here is they're written down. That's also a good a good factor when you have rules. Maybe write them down. There's so many people I talk to that don't have a trading plan. It's nothing written down.
I always tell people, take my rules, print them out, stick them on somewhere on the side of your TV screen where you're trading with, and you'll help yourself a lot. So you ready for this, Tracy and Dan?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, the BigBeat's rules of trading. Number one, I already gave to you earlier, is read One Up on Wall Street by Peter Lynch. It's pretty obvious why, because I'm a thesis trader, and I believe Peter Lynch started and ended up having the largest assets under management, Fidelity Magellan, the biggest fund in the world eventually. The second one is, I always say, read The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clason. Very simple. He teaches you how to create wealth over and over again. It's a simple story, but what happens is you can get lost in the story a little bit, but what you learn is he's a happy camper because he's got several streams of revenue, and that's important. You should have several streams of revenue however you do it, whether they're small or big. Number three is read Reminiscence of a Stock Operator by Edwin Lefebvre. And pretty simple. He had been in the pits a long time ago, and he had already been through every type of situation. While that's the early 1900s, you'll still get the same feel for that too as well. All right, the next one is trade what you know. A lot of times traders don't trade what they know. I had a trader one time told me he lost a lot of money in a biotech stock, and I said, well, that's interesting. I said, my mom's a pharmacist, a world-class pharmacist. I understand the biotech world. What do you know about the biotech world? He goes, I'm a plumber. I don't know anything about the biotech world. And I go, excellent. Then let's trade those companies that are in the plumbing and housing, because you understand that, right? Yes. And the next year he tripled his money because he started to buy stocks that were in his field. And that's what I mean. If you're a doctor, you totally know which drugs you're prescribing. So you should be investing in those companies, right? If you are working in the technology field, you know what softwares people are using. So buy those companies, right? Take that knowledge and put it down. The next one is, the name of the game is wealth preservation. I can't pound the table harder enough on this one. Wealth preservation. You know how much money you have. If you lose it all, you're out of the game. So don't go too crazy. Don't YOLOing into things. I get it. I know it's fun. It's exciting. And there's all of that kind of emotion that goes on. But wealth preservation, if you live to play the next day, you'll always have the ability to play. Don't be afraid to sell your losers, your dogs. I think a lot of people get wed to their positions, right? Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm down 20% in this. The stock can go down further. I promise you it can. If the headwinds against that equity is still there, get it out, sell out, because you know what? There's always a game somewhere else. If a good example of that would be Amazon. Amazon went against me, kept going against me, and I said, it's Amazon. It can't be too bad. It could. I got out anyway, and it fell even more. So another good example is Tesla, right? Tesla was getting crushed down to 600s. I got out because it was a loser, but then I had an opportunity to buy back cheaper, and that's what I liked about it. So don't be afraid to sell your losers. The next one is, every day is a new opportunity. It's pretty obvious, right? Look, the day was terrible. Oh my gosh, I lost a lot of money. Or, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Tomorrow's a new opportunity. There's always something going on. Don't worry about it. Wealth preservation, right? The next one is, the market doesn't start at 9:30. That's very simple. I can tell you from examples of going out and partying with them, that don't come in hungover. Don't be ready to go at 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning because the China markets are running, right. Make sure you're paying attention to what's going on on the Shanghai, the FTSE, the DAX, because they make a deal. They're going to affect our U.S. markets, and the markets don't start at 9:30. All right, the next one is, if your position makes you nervous, you are too heavy. It's true. Look, if you're YOLOing into something and you're thinking about it and you're constantly having to go online and stock twits and all these different places, and you're having to ask in Twitter feeds, you're too heavy. Slow that roll down a bit, lower your position a little bit so that you can sleep at night. You need to sleep. The next one is have a thesis. Very simple. I talked about that earlier. Whenever you're buying or selling, I don't care what it is, understand the position, right? Know why you're buying it. You're not just buying it because everybody else is, because they don't really know themselves. Understand the position you're in. So have a thesis. Next one is learn technical trading. Yeah, totally. I mean, when I started trading, I learned on a graph paper and pen. I was not allowed to use a pencil because it had an eraser on it. You need to learn those, right? You need to understand. I don't always believe in technical analysis because it's how the past is, but then you're also starting to see where the buyers are and where the sellers are. I think a lot of people don't understand that the market is a zero-sum game. There is always a buyer and there's always a seller. It's just where the bids and the asks are, or where the other players are in the market, right? And so I always tell them, learn technical trading, learn all aspects of it, learn every indicator you can possibly learn, and learn when to put those on. The next one is the price of anything is the path of least resistance. That's very simple. You want to understand the price. Price is everything in the market. Let the price dictate, right? But it's least resistance. Is the feeling of the market that we're going to go higher? That's the least resistance. Right now, we've seen this massive sell-off in the markets. The path of least resistance has been up because there's all these shorts in the market. They have to cover. We got to figure out what days they cover, and that's the path of least resistance. If the market's feels and looks frothy, the path of least resistance is probably to the downside. That's just how it usually is. The next one is time is your best friend. If you are in a position, your thesis is still on, you want to continue in this position, it's not really a dog yet, time is your best friend, meaning you've got time to get in and out of that position. Let it run, let it do its thing, let it work its way through the markets, and let it go through your thesis. The next one is do not overtrade. This one's important, especially now. It seems that so many people are trading 1,000 trades a day, and they don't need to do that, right? When people say to me, I only have 6 companies, but I trade it 1,000 times a day. I go, well, I have about 74 positions on I do right now that, in that aspect, I'm not over trading, right? I'm looking for the pops to get out, and then I'm going to find something else to get into, right? So don't over trade. The next one is important, right behind it, is sitting on your hands is a trade. Listen, not trading is a trade. Let the positions work for you. Right now, the market pushed up this morning. This afternoon, it sold off. I was smiling, but I don't feel the market has that same umph. So I'm going to sit on my hands. I'm not going to make a trade. And that's okay, because that actually is a trade. You're saving your money. The next one is... The next one is don't be greedy, take profit. I do this every single day. If the market jumps for you and goes in your way, especially now, be high and tight. Keep those, as I always say as a sailor, I say, keep those lines tight because it's very simple, right? Look, it's very easy. If you're in a position, we all know the old adage, right? Pigs get, bears make money, bulls make money, and pigs get slaughtered. But in this thing, when you see a jump of 10, 20, 30% in your portfolio, take the money and run and use it to build that wealth. The next one is, we talked about this earlier, was set a daily goal. How do you set a daily goal? Well, figure out, I think Dan, you asked this great question, find out what you need to make for the year and then divide by 225. That's exactly what you need to make per day. All right, learn to leverage or scaling. Levering up is great. You need to learn how to do that, whether that's through options or whether that's through buying more stock. So what I also mean by that is, if you're really bullish on an equity and you want to go long, and how much you have, let's say you have $1,000 and you want to invest in it, only invest $100. If it goes up, great, you made money. If it didn't, now you can buy more. That's levering up. Don't just go YOLOing into every stock every single time in and out. You want to learn how to leverage and learn how to play that market so that you're building it to it and you can actually sell the rip and buy the dip. The next one is options aren't scary. So many times I've seen it throughout my trading history. People go, I'm not trading options because it just scares the heck out of me. I can break it down for you. One option is 100 shares. Just think of it like levering up, right? But learning how to do it, not just buying naked puts and calls going to the bullish side and puts to the bearish side, but that you're also learning how to put on spreads as well. And that's important. So I always say options aren't scary. I'm happy to teach anybody options. The next one is always have powder. In those, that very simple. Always have money around you. If you find an opportunity, you have money to be able to play it. The next time we talked about this earlier is the whole world matters. You better know what's going on in Japan and China and Europe, because it's going to affect us here. Ask about Russia and Ukraine, because it's going to affect us. Wheat prices right now, oil prices around the country, because it does affect us here. The market never sleeps, but you should. That's very simple. Look, the market does not sleep. It never stops. I've been a crypto trader since literally pretty much day one. I bought Bitcoin at $75. So I understand that. And I understand this whole, Globacks, where the market never stopped. I remember when Globacks came out. I remember when we had options around the world. Look, that's it. But you need to sleep. Because you know what? If you're tired every day, you're not going to make good decisions. It's pretty simple. The next one is admit mistakes. I do it all the time. Man, I made a mistake with that trade, and I'll talk about it, and I'll talk myself to death and admit it, get it out there. And then sometimes I have to do it out loud so that I understand that what I've really done. A lot of people just talk about their wins, and that's great, and I'm glad for that, and I want to see that. I want to see everybody make money. But if you're not admitting mistakes, you're a liar, and you're lying to yourself. The next one is when a trade is over, move on, or don't wed your position. When a trade is over, go on. Oh man, I missed it. I made money on this position, but it kept going up. I could have made more money. Don't forget about it. Go on, move on to the next position, because you know what? There's going to be another one. The next one is hope is not a strategy. I do not believe in the markets, hope and luck. I hope the price goes up. I hope the stock market goes up today. It's not going to do it because you care. The market, pardon my French, does not give a shit about you. So hope is not a strategy. The next one is play the game in front of you. You may not like the politics that's going on. You may not like the stock market as it is, but the market's giving you an opportunity. The market may be going down. That's great. It's path of least resistance. Great. Then learn how to go short. Learn how to short the market, because that's important, right? The next one is always have an exit strategy. Even when you're in the market, you better know when to get out. So if you're buying a stock at $50, know to get out at $100. That's where it's going to be. Then get out, right? And don't be unhappy. The next one is don't chase. Let the market come to you. I cannot say this enough. Do not chase the market. Chasing the market will get you nothing but your tail caught. And the last one is if the market doesn't humble you, you ain't playing it. Trust me, you're going to lose in this market. I promise you're going to lose. You may win overall. That's great. That's what we want. That's what we're trying to create, right? A better trader, a real life trader. But if the market doesn't humble you, you ain't playing it. That's a mouthful, Tracy.
It is an absolute pleasure and a treat to get those rules from you. And I hope all of our listeners have taken what they need out of that and written it down, as you mentioned earlier, and then put it on their computer, because those are some great rules. And I can hear a lot of them actually coming out of The Richest Man in Babylon.
Yeah, sure.
Totally get it. And some great reads that I'm going to be adding to my list as well. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I within the rules there's concepts that I'm noticing over and over. Two big ones. I think the first one that shoots every newer trader or trader that's not trading consistently profitable or is not cutting losses. I mean, the value of just that rule alone, it's the hardest thing to do. I think is human nature. We don't do anything. We wouldn't take a trade if we think we're going to be wrong. But having not only where your stop would be and having those targets and make sure, okay, you're probably not going to call the top. It's very, very tough to call the top of a position and just sold at the exact penny. So it's most likely always going to go higher. I mean, that's just fact. But if you could take your profits and you cut your losses, I think that keeps, like you said, that keeps people in the game. And I think that's one of the biggest things that even in 2020, 2021, I mean, yeah, the market went on a complete bull run, which in some sense was probably bad for traders because like they made money short term, but longer term they didn't really learn to trade or do anything. And I think a lot of those people that if they just stick with it and just continue on the path of learning and developing their knowledge around the markets and the world economy, I think they can be in a very good spot. But because they probably YOLO, which you mentioned a couple times, because they don't take their stops, they're all in on margin and just disaster for a lot of people, and they get frustrated and they're like, this game's not for me and I'm out. And they never have the opportunity to get there.
Dan, you couldn't be more right. I mean, I always tell people this, especially the last few months. If you've weathered this last storm, you've weathered a storm since we haven't seen since the early 70s. And that should say something, right? If you're still got cash and you're still trading and you're doing all these things, okay, you did it. You got through your first major downturn. I've been through 9 now. This is number 10. And so, you learn to do that, right? If you're all happy because the market goes up and you're not so super sad when the market goes down, you're going to be okay, right? It's all about wealth preservation, right? If you see the market going down, don't take all your money out. Just understand the market, be short, have VIX calls or something of that nature on. Just be prepared. That's all I'm saying. It's like almost like the Boy Scout kind of motto there.
Yeah. No. Well, if when that opportunity comes up, with eventually in everybody's lifetime, I can guarantee at least one opportunity, if not multiple, almost all the time. But if people see the opportunity, they're not prepared for it.
Yeah, I mean, when you saw Ethereum at $900, I'm like, people were scared. And look, Warren Buffett's right. There's blood in the street. Be ready to go. And I was. I mean, I bought crazy on Ethereum at 900 today. It hit 1,800. Right. There's a one bagger for you right there immediately, and it only happened in less than a month. And that's the key right there. If you don't get scared. And be prepared, right? If you start to see on social media and it's all going to hell, crypto's going to hell in a handbasket, it's probably not. It's not. Be prepared to buy, right? We saw that happen in AMC. The big shorts were on an AMC, and the retail took a swing at big money, right? And they beat them on their own game and kept on buying and squeezed them. So there are opportunities out there, and it turned into be a 20 bagger eventually.
And I think the other concept a lot of the rules are revolving around, which I think is overlooked by a lot, just a ton of traders, and it's probably one of the biggest rules somebody should focus on, is the concept of time. I think having the concept and just the realization of what time actually is a huge game changer. I mean, we could go to the Warren Buffett story of just dividends and things like that, but not only that, but it takes time to learn the markets. It takes time to get involved in the market. It takes time to really understand different commodities and how they trade and things like that. And if you could really understand the amount of time that you have in a lifetime, you don't have to YOLO on plays to
That's right.
make your $1 million just because GameStop, everyone's talking about it.
I mean,
right? You could.
As a commodities trader, I always look at things in commodities, and time is the most valuable commodity on the planet. You sell that every single day, whether you sell that by learning the markets, by spending time with traders like Real Life Trading Group here to learn. That's an amazing usage of your time, right? If you're going to sit in front of an Xbox and a PlayStation all day long and you're not going to learn, okay. Every minute I have, even at my age, I still spend every minute I can learning about the markets, learning what's going on in the markets, almost to the point where when my wife watches the news at 6 and 7 o'clock, I don't want to watch the news. I've seen it 100 times, right? It's the same thing, right? But time is your biggest commodity, and spend it wisely, right? I tell you, we only have so much time on this planet. Even in my own life, I've lost a brother. I've seen death around me, and you know what? I live every day like it's my last day on the planet, because someday it might be. And but trading gives you an opportunity. It gives you a lifestyle that you probably wouldn't have had before. And it gives you an experience that you can take, a job in a lot of ways, all the way till you die, right? I mean, a lot of people can't be a plumber at 70 years old, right? But you can still trade behind a computer at 70 years old. And that's a trade that you can have the rest of your life. So, well done, real life traders, because that's what you're trying. You're teaching a life skill that you didn't get when you were born, right? You have to learn it. And I think this is great.
That's such a great point. Absolutely great point. Now, you've mentioned a couple times, I just want to shift back a little bit here about cutting your losses with your dogs. Mm-hmm. Because I'm guessing that you're more of a fundamental trader than you are a technical. I'm assuming you use a little bit of the technicals to kind of map out your trades, but how do you determine when it is a dog?
So there's three ways of doing it, right? The first thing that I do when I use money.net, we have a thing called Strategy Builder. And in Strategy Builder, the very first thing that I look at is debt to equity ratio. Especially in a rising inflation and in a rising interest rate environment we have today, if you have a lot of debt on the balance sheet, it's a lot harder to service that debt or to pay that debt off if the rates are going up, right? So if you have a lot of debt on there, I'm already kind of cutting you out right there. Not because I don't think you don't have the ability. You might be a good tech company, but right now in a rising rate environment as we have today, it's a little tougher. In the technical analysis side of things, when I'm sitting on something, for example, I live still in Amazon a little bit. I want to cut that because you know what? Maybe I start to see headwinds in it. And so I'm seeing the more macro picture of Amazon, right? But then I'm also seeing Amazon at the 200-day moving average, the 100-day moving average, the 50-day moving average. I'm looking at some convergence. If we see a swing back up, then I might be okay. But if I start to see the breakdown in the technicals, a breakdown in the fundamentals, then I have to say, okay, I got to cut it. Each company is different because it has to be based on market cap as well. If this is a massive company like Apple, okay, I'm willing to take a little bit more risk. If this is some company that's a YOLO and it just came on the IPO'd, okay, you don't have the track record and the pedigree behind it to hold it up a little bit. I think I'm going to back off and take my losses there.
Gotcha. That completely makes sense. And then the other thing that I wanted to ask you was regarding, we're not offering any financial advice here. So this is all for educational purposes.
Sure.
But I would love your insight and your insight into the current war that's going on in the Ukraine. Also, the last visit that Pelosi had to the east, and see what kind of what's your take on all of that and the inflation and all that kind of stuff.
Well, as a former person in the White House and also in the State Department, I can tell you that I'm Vladimir Putin, straight up, is an evil human being. He should not have invaded Ukraine. He did it for personal reasons, and he wanted to take over parts of it. I understood the new numbers are now losses on their side is between 70 and 80,000 personnel. That's absolutely asinine for no reason other than a human's ego and greed and evilness. So I'm very unhappy about that. But as I always say, you have to play the game in front of us. So when they went to invade Ukraine, he thought that of course, it was his ideas that there was Nazism going on, and that he wasn't very happy with the new president being a comedian and all. So he went ahead and tried to take over the ports. Let's be honest, he's taken over the eastern side of Ukraine, which is the rest of that side where the ports are. And so it's totally understandable. He's also going after the nuclear reactor, and there's a lot of commodities in that area, right? There's a grain, obviously, being the biggest export of Ukraine. So make no bones about it, he's actually going after the commodities there as well, which is affecting the United States. And for whatever reason, I'm glad that the United States is supporting this, because where tyranny is somewhere, there's tyranny everywhere, right? And I really, the United States stands up to tyranny, especially at that kind of that level. You asked about Nancy Pelosi. Very simple. Look, that was probably the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I understand why she did it. She did it. Looks like her numbers are not looking good politically in the numbers for Speaker of the House, because quite frankly, I think the Republicans are going to win the House, probably the Senate too. I think I've already called that publicly. The numbers need to be 22, and I think that numbers 18 will separate the House. So I think right now, firmly, I guess now with real clear politics and the political report, we're now at 22 wins for the Republicans on that side. So I don't know what she was doing. Maybe she was taking a last run, maybe democracy, rah, rah, ree. But she's causing problems, in Taiwan. We don't need anymore because of the Ukraine issue, because of Vladimir Putin. This might give Xi Jinping a little bit of a sting in their throat to go after Taiwan and go get that straight back, right? It's a 2 million people over there that are sitting right in the ports alone, and that's a very important. So China is now flexing their muscles. Now it could be just saber rattling, and as I said, don't hope in prayers. I don't believe in that, or the hope in luck. But let's hopefully that settles down a little bit there. But right now, I don't see that settling down. I think Xi Jinping is pretty pissed off. We've cut off the ambassadors. The U.S. ambassador to the United States was called into the U.S. embassy and the White House, and the U.S. ambassador to China was called into the Chinese ambassador's office. So that's usually a very bad sign. Very, I don't know. That's kind of how it started with World War II in a lot of ways. But let's not knock on wood and say we've started World War III. I hope not, Nancy.
Yeah, not good. But so given the political infrastructure that's currently existing, how are you kind of positioning your portfolio in like what you might be expecting in the effects that might have on the commodities and what have you?
So the first thing that I did was I saw the bills coming through the House. I knew they were going to rush them through in the Senate on the solar and wind and the those energy plays. So I was already in those. I got out of those today because buy the rumor, sell the news. And the next level is if we do. I noticed that we've sent another $40 billion over and spent more money on weaponry, right? And any weapons that we send overseas, we have to replace them to ourselves. So that's Lockheed Martin, LMT, that's Raytheon, RTX, Northrop Grumman, NOC. Those companies are going to do quite well. And look, the more deeper in debt the United States gets, the better that war is very profitable, regardless of what you think of war. And I abhor it, but it's very profitable. And you have to be somewhat in those plays. I'm not talking about whether to buy or sell, but I am long Lockheed, Raytheon, and Northrop Grumman.
Sticking with the macro, and it'd probably be a sin if I don't ask you because of the wealth of macro knowledge that you have, and you've also said you understand the supply chain. So I think it was Thursday, Elon Musk had the shareholder meeting. I don't know if you either watched it or saw clips, but basically what he was stating is, number one, he thinks, from what he says, that he thinks we're at peak inflation, and he's also seeing supply chain issues getting better. Based on how you look at it, do you agree with Elon on this, or is there more time needed, really, and what's that process like?
I learned a long time ago, don't fight against Reed Hastings at Netflix. They're pretty smart guys. I learned a long time ago, don't go against the richest man in the world, Elon Musk, because he's pretty smart. Look, he's not going to be building these gigafactories in these places that making the batteries in the New Germany factory. He's not going to build those places unless he knows for a fact that they're going to grow, right? That they're going to get bigger and better, and people are going to move into the electric world. I saw just a few minutes ago where Ford and General Motors was talking about it's the best time ever for electric vehicles, that the normal route, the diesel and the gasoline vehicles aren't doing well. All right, well, the forefront of that was Elon Musk, and he sees it a lot clearer than I do because he's living it, right? He's going to the supply chains. The two massive ports in the United States are Elizabethport, New Jersey, and Los Angeles and San Diego on the West Coast. And for me, I was just in Seattle. I got a chance to see the Seattle port, and it's busy as heck. So yeah, they're right. But the problem is, we as consumers are consuming even more. So we need even more. It's not just fixing supply chains. We got to slow down our consumption too as well. And Elon sees that. He sees consumption up. He sees gasoline prices up. He sees the supply chain easing off. It's a win-win-win for those that his business alone, right? And of course, Warren Buffett and his trains, he knows he has to get those trains across the country. So he knows the supply chain, he keeps buying them up, right? And of course, the margins there are growing on the buys and the sell sides of the margins of transportation. So one thing we talked about not too long ago with Creed on my show was Goodyear tire, right? It doesn't matter if you're buying an electric vehicle or you're buying a gas guzzler. You still got to put tires on it, right? So there's always a place somewhere, right? And Goodyear tire stocks is moving up again. So, yeah.
Perfect. Now, Steve, I'd like to shift a gear a little bit more again, and I'd like you to tell us a little bit about money.net. What exactly is it?
Oh, I couldn't be more happy to be proud to be a part of money.net again. Listen, we have an amazing CEO, Vincent Sangiovanni. Look, he was at GTX. This is what I've always said. When I look at management of a company, can they get it done, right? And Vince is one of those guys who has done it in the past and is doing it now. He's The software is so much better. We've gone out there and gotten the best. What I mean by that is we have all the different parts that everybody's asking for. For example, if you want short interest data, we didn't go out and build a short interest piece of the puzzle. We actually went out to Ortex. We said, look, you're the best in the world, so why don't you come hang out with us and put a module in? The answer was immediately yes. They put it right in. ChatterQuant. This is a company that handles Reddit and Twitter feeds through an AI software. These are guys who are the best in the world at software. I said, look, why do it alone? Come hang out with us, put your module in. We'll build out a platform that has everything. Real-time options, real-time quotes. We went out there with Cossack, with some chart IQ. We didn't just get we got the latest version, 8.6. We're really building, and I think that's what's cool. We had data in the past for real time. We went past that, right? We went straight to the exchange and said, look, we'd love to have your data. Not one person has said no to us. We're doing things a whole lot differently. We believe in not doing it alone. We believe in a community just like you guys, right? So we also went out there and we could easily create a Discord. I mean, Discord's great. We could have easily put a chat site in our platform, but we didn't. We went to Symphony, which is the best financial platform for chat, and co-opted it and put it in our platform. We said, look, let's do this for every trader, right? I believe that Wall Street, in a lot of ways, it has a head start on everybody, right? Regardless of what you think of the meme stocks or whatever. My philosophy in life has always been the same, is to level the playing field. If I can get you the same data that everybody else has access to in Wall Street and bring it right to you and do it as cheaply as we possibly can, to me, that's a win-win situation. And I think that we have a winner here in money.net. And I don't just believe it. Not just our team believes it, but we've had several traders who have been doing it for several years, including Jeremy Newsom, including Scott Bauer of Prosper Trading, ARK Advisors, Dave Bullock. These guys are saying, look, if you really want this kind of access, you got to have money.net. They're not just saying you should try it out. They're saying you got to have it. And that means a lot more to me than some news organization trying to pump, and clickbait. I don't believe in clickbait. I mean, that's why I left. So I believe that companies should bring the best data they possibly can as economically as they possibly can, and bring people like yourselves that have been doing this a long time and educate. Education is the key to the markets, right? And I believe that there are two levels of people on Wall Street. There are the greedy and the bad, and then there are those who want to really level the playing field. I'm very proud to call Jeremy Newsom my friend and Real Life Traders my friend. So very excited about it.
Now, I use Questrade for my broker, and I use TradingView for my platform. What would money.net replace?
All right, so I'll tell you very simple. If you're using one platform for everything, you're not trading. You're a hobbyist, as I always say that. You need to have more than one platform. Look, I have TradingView on my left. I've got 8 platforms around me at all times. I know what's going on. But if you want something that's all-encompassing, that's money.net. That makes it a whole lot easier for you. And we will very soon have trading within the platform, so don't worry about that. That's been fixed. But I will tell you this much. It's all about the next level, right? We're not just looking for the best of today, but we're thinking about it in the future. Think of all the cool things you could probably put into a software that's coming. I will say this much: other platforms are in trouble. They know it, I'm sure, because in about 6 months there will be no other reason for many other platforms out there.
Do you guys offer back trading?
Yeah, of course. We have all of it. What's interesting is when you see a platform in another company, you see they're pretty good at one thing or another, right? They're probably good at giving some trade ideas, or maybe good at news, or they may be good at this. We have it all, right? That's the whole all encompassing. And one of the cool things that we have is modules that is backtesting. We have strategy builder. We have for the future. We also can test your trades, how would it done in the past. If you're paper trading, we've got that ability too. We've also got, and we're also going to have a piece of the puzzle coming very soon. I won't talk about it too much coming in that will tell you what time of day you're a trader. You're a better trader at. Are you a better trader at options? Are you a better trader at commodities? It's going to tell you when to trade, how to trade, and what to trade. That is in and of itself is cool to me.
That is cool. And you guys offer a 14-day trial on all the different products you have, and then you also have a free version, correct?
That's correct. We have a 14-day trial on everything. And if you just want to hang out and have a portfolio and get some delayed quotes, we'll love to have you on the platform. That's free. But it's $60 a month. I mean, that beats everybody on Wall Street. That's the coolest thing, is you cannot have every piece of the puzzle at $60, even if you waited for Black Friday on some of these companies. I know I do with TradingView, right? But the truth of the matter is that if you want it all, $60 is pretty cheap.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, you know what, Steve? It has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. I've learned tons from you. I'm sure our audience has as well. Hopefully we get a chance to talk to you again in the future. Like I said, you have a ton of experience and a wealth of knowledge, and we can all benefit from that. So I appreciate your time.
Oh, Tracy and Dan, it's been a great. I absolutely, totally enjoyed this. And look, I believe in one thing. Of all the rules and everything else in my life, if I could say anything to anybody about being a trader, is just do it. It's like kind of like the Nike commercial. Just do it. I know it's scary sometimes. I know that we be humbling, but just do it. Understand that this is something that you can have the rest of your life. If you learn to trade, you can do it till the day you die. If you learn to trade, it'll also change your life. Hey, who else gets to go to Bali in the middle of the summer, right? Look, I love it. I love it. This is not just about personality, right? This is about doing something good for yourself, for your family. Maybe you're just trying to get another vacation or something. You're trying to make enough money to whatever. That is what it does for you. And it creates a lifetime opportunities that you don't get anywhere else. As I always say, the market is the greatest wealth generator in the whole world at any point in any time.
Love it.
I love that message. I think the heaviest piece of equipment in a gym is that front door, right? So you got to get in the gym to start working out. But appreciate having you on this time. For the listeners, we'll include all the links below. So if you guys want to check out money.net and any of the other cool content, you guys can do so there. And if anything, I learned three things today, or one thing with three people. So don't get in the way of Reed Hastings, don't get in the way of Elon Musk, and don't get in the way of Steve Orr, aka BigBeat. Appreciate having you on the Pivot Podcast. Thank you guys each and every week for listening, and tune in next week for another episode of the Pivot Podcast.